I guess I should have known that there wouldn't be any cell phone service out here, and therefore no GPS, so the taxi driver got kind of lost on the way. He was a bit of a jerk about it too, but whatever, at least the long boring drive was finally over. I had originally planned to check out the so-called Devil's Island before Halloween shortly after arriving, but the journey took a lot longer than I thought. Fortunately, there was a pub right where the taxi dropped me off, so I could at least enjoy a quick pint and hope they still had a room available for the night. Short notice and not a moment to spare. That sums up my grandfather pretty well. I still can't believe he convinced me to come out here, but he is too old and frail to go himself and no one else was willing. He told me that I was the only one he could trust, but isn't that something people say these days just to get you on board? Whether he meant it or not, he wasn't wrong. I could always keep a secret, but for now, keeping out of the rain seemed more pressing. As I sat at one of the tables inside the pub, I felt like an outsider amongst the bustling atmosphere and the strong blended aroma of beer and cigars. Clearly, most of the folks there were locals and were probably wary of receiving a stranger at such a late hour, but I shrugged it off and ordered something to drink. "Can I have a beer, please? Thank you." While I waited, I went over some of my notes to make sure I hadn't missed anything important and started taking a closer look at the 3 Polaroids that accompanied the documents that my grandfather sent me. The old photos progressed from an establishing shot of an old church with a bell tower to a secret crypt and then a large golden cross. And then there was the letter from someone claiming to have found the cross and removed it from the crypt. The letter hinted at an attempt to blackmail or taunt my grandfather, but I had a feeling that we were yet to discover the true motive behind it. He probably wouldn't have taken it all that seriously though had it not been for the news about the bell tower, that after decades of silence could once again be heard echoing beyond the island's coast. Was it all just a hoax? Who was ringing the bell tower, and why now? It was in that moment of intense thought that I noticed something strange in one of the photos. A glitch with the camera perhaps, but it looked enough like an apparition to give me an unsettling feeling. As my freshly poured Guinness arrived at the table, I was suddenly approached by a young lady who seemed intrigued by my presence. To my surprise, she asked me if I was there because of the bell tower, while lightly gesturing to the view of the island outside the window that I was still yet to fully acknowledge. The bell tower was also visible and stood tall above the silhouette of the island. She mentioned it had been the talk of the town, but no one has dared to visit the island to investigate, adding that the bell tower began sounding off during the harvest moon on October 1st, which also had everyone spooked, especially since this Halloween was going to be accompanied by a rare blue moon. When I asked why, she responded with a series of bizarre local stories that have led many to believe the island to be haunted and hides a deadly curse from which no one can escape. Out of all the stories though, there was one in particular that struck me as odd. An unsolved mystery dating back to the 1940s. It was during a rare hunter's moon on a Halloween night. The island's inhabitants vanished without a trace and their bodies were never found. She expressed genuine concern when I told her that I planned to visit the island the next day and told me to make sure I get back before midnight, since it would mark the anniversary of all those lost souls who perished during that rare hunter's moon on Halloween over 70 years ago. I wasn't the superstitious type, but I could tell it was something she took seriously, and shared the same look that my grandfather had whenever we talked about the island and its many mysteries. We talked for a little while longer before heading our separate ways, and I managed to find some accommodation at the pub. Nothing too fancy, but adequate for just one night. It was almost midnight and I was getting ready to call it a day when suddenly a note crept from under the door. I quickly peeked down the narrow corridor, but whoever left the note made sure not to be seen. For whatever reason, I thought it was the pub owner trying to relay a message to me, perhaps something he forgot to mention regarding the terms of my stay, but I was surprised when I was presented with a stark warning. Only danger awaits you at Devil's Island this Halloween. Stay away. Admittedly, I wasn't really looking forward to going to the island on Halloween, but I was already a day late and my grandfather insisted that I must verify the location of the Golden Cross before the end of Halloween. If only he tracked me down sooner, there would have been more time. There was no avoiding it now.